You can have it all. Great pay, awesome benefits, a flexible schedule, the chance to grow. At Cox, we're recruiting auto and diesel technicians to join our Mannheim and Fleet Services teams. If you're ready for a new job and want to experience an award-winning workplace, drive your career forward with us. Visit cox.career/autotech to learn more. That's cox.career/autotech.
If you're a facilities manager at a university, you know students rely on the cafeteria for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and the occasional late-night snack. So when a dishwasher breaks down and dirty plates pile up, the mess hall can turn messy in the blink of an eye. Enter Grainger. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast delivery, the product you need now is never far away. So you can turn that dishwasher back into a lean, clean washing machine. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
You can have it all. Great pay, awesome benefits, a flexible schedule, the chance to grow. At Cox, we're recruiting auto and diesel technicians to join our Mannheim and Fleet Services teams. If you're ready for a new job and want to experience an award-winning workplace, drive your career forward with us. Visit cox.career/autotech to learn more. That's cox.career/autotech.
Live at lunch.
You are looking live.
Live at lunch. Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
What the hell's going on out here?
Now, here's Jimmy Ott and Charles Hannegriff.
Yeah, for some reason or another, you sound a little taller on radio.
Is it live? Is it live? Is it live?
From Mike Anderson Seafood, Wesley at Nicholson. Welcome to the Tuesday edition of Live at Lunch. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. I'm Charles Hannegriff along with Jimmy Ott. Jordan Kitchens back in the studio. We get Max here. We'll be at full strength for a day.
A day.
We've had a bunch of stuff that have precluded us, I guess, from being at full strength. We're glad you're with us today on an overcast day here in Baton Rouge. Jimmy, thanks for picking up the slack last couple of days while I was out at a family funeral. So we got a few things to catch up on. Yeah, I noticed you're a little maybe a little tired. Did you stay up for Iowa State last night? I lost the battle with sleep waiting for that one. Woke up and saw the score and said, "Oh man, they got it to overtime, huh?" Then I saw how they got it to overtime. One of the more exciting finishes in college basketball for the whole season, that Arizona hits a better than half-court shot to send it to overtime, and then dominated the extra period to beat the number 3 Cyclones in Tucson last night.
I mean, it's, Iowa State has it was an eventful trip, that Tempe-Tucson trip, swing. I guess that's what they're going to do with the Big 12
Travel
teams.
Partners, yeah.
They're an hour apart, roughly. So, I mean, I mean, they were down one. Horrible beat if you had Arizona State plus double digits on Saturday. Got the lead with 5:15 to go, and they lose by 15 and fail to cover. Last night it was a horrible beat if you had Iowa State. So he giveth, he taketh away, huh? If you're back in Iowa State. So, I mean, it's a three-quarter court shot to put it into overtime. It's a classic case. Not just an unranked team favored over a ranked team. Unranked team favored over a top 5 team.
Yeah.
And so, and then all Arizona pretty much in overtime. So, Otterlocks went 2-1. Slept through my radio appearance. I was tired, Charlie. It is harder to do the Beau Rivage trip without you, if you haven't noticed.
I noticed that when I did the Beau Rivage trip without you the time before that. Yes, it's a little bit more intensive work-wise. But I tell you what, I was pretty impressed listening to Football Sunday. I got to do a segment, but I was listening to the rest of the way driving down, and nice new addition to the show on
my buddy
Sunday.
Will Clem. I picked him up on my visit to Tuscaloosa. The Tuscaloosa Trend, 6-1 with his picks, and his only loss was Devontae Smith over 45.5. It felt 45.
Welcome to the show.
No pressure now, kid.
Right, hell of a debut performance. Eagles too much for Washington. The turnovers a little bit too much, though.
Your boy played better.
Jalen Hurts, played better than he has in probably 2 months in that game. I thought,
and he looked healthy. Mm-hmm. They were very selective, and they picked their spot. It was a one designed run, now minus the tush pushes.
Yeah,
I mean, there was plenty of those, but they. I think it was first and goal. Might have been second and goal. The quarterback draw from the 9-yard line. He went in basically untouched for a 9-yard TD. But his rushing yardage prop, which I was on, was that collected pretty easily because he just didn't run not as many designed runs like we thought.
Yeah, just the touchdowns at short range. I watched the whole game. Obviously, we're pulling for. I think both of us same. We were pulling for Washington, but our pick was Philadelphia, and they did have the better roster, and they did have the home field. But I thought Jaden Daniels did what he could. I mean, my goodness, I thought.
Yes.
You say, well, your team lost by 32 points. Well, man, look, I thought Jaden Daniels kept them in there. I thought, the fumbles. The turnovers obviously got him in a big hole. We knew that Saquon Barkley was going to be a big problem. He was 150 yards each time, averaged 150 yards in each one of those things. Washington was without Deron Payne, which wasn't the whole reason, but certainly didn't help anything that he was out. And
it hurt.
It was just one in a number of things.
Because they were a mid-level defense this year, statistically.
Yeah.
And that's what they've been. I'd say that's fine. Mid. They weren't mid on Sunday.
No.
The first play of the game, the first play from scrimmage,
60 yards.
not the first play of the game, first play of scrimmage for the Philadelphia offense. It's not just the result. It's not just the box score, okay? That was as ugly defensively, talent-wise, effort-wise, football IQ-wise, on the poor angles. I mean, just running yourself. That was gross. How bad it was.
You know what the first two drives reminded me of? The national championship game. The Notre Dame got the ball.
Very
they
much.
kept the ball for
exactly
2/3 of the first quarter. They get a score.
Exactly.
And then Ohio State went right. I mean, not in one play, but they went down the field very, very easily. And you're like, man, if it took Washington all that convert 2 4th downs to get in there and just get points, and they just give it to Saquon, and boom, all of a sudden you're behind. They pulled out everything. Tress Way, the punter. I mean, what a throw. It was
a great throw. Punt. It was a good throw.
That was a good throw for a quarterback, much less a punter. So
for a team that is over 75% on 4th down conversions.
Yeah.
30 for 38. And see that, I mean, he's a percentage guy. Yeah. And it's all Daniels.
I was about to ask how many of those were Daniels.
No, it's all Daniels.
Yeah.
No, I'm not. They didn't include the trick play. They're just Daniels.
Just Daniels.
Yeah. 30 for 38 on the year. Were you surprised he went for it twice and then kicked the field goal? You want to get a lead, stuff like that.
I think he didn't want to tempt fate. They got the 2 first downs on the 4th downs with room to spare. You didn't have to bring the chains out or anything.
You're pushing your luck a little bit?
A little bit, yeah.
It's 3.
Yeah, I think he felt like, man, hey, look, let's not come out of this 9-minute drive without any points. I didn't hate the call. Let's get the lead and do that.
Well, if Hurts plays adequately, I mean, he's good. They're loaded.
Yeah,
they're loaded.
They are. That's as good a roster as there is from 1 to 53 in football.
Well, they were very competitive in the Super Bowl 2 years ago, were they not?
Sure.
Okay,
yeah,
are they all right? They lose Kelsey, but the offensive line's still good.
Yes.
Kelsey it's a loss. Might not be quite as good, but really close.
Mm-hmm.
Running backs, way better.
Yes.
I mean, you got all your pieces. They only have 2 more years of experience together, thrown together. All the receiving targets are there.
Well, and as good as that defense was 2 years ago when they played them, they've added 2 big pieces. Okay, Zach Bond, who's an all-pro, first-team all-pro linebacker. This has got to make Saints fans sick to their stomach. This guy's been rotting on the bench in New Orleans for 4 years. He goes to Philadelphia and first-team all-pro. And then Cooper DeJean, who was a high pick for them out of Iowa, has made plays. Okay, and he's been a returner too, which is nice. He had one of the fumble recoveries in this game. he has made a lot of plays. That's two big pieces that they've added, plus Jalen Carter since the last time they were in the Super Bowl.
He's not a big piece?
He's a huge piece.
Okay.
Well, but added him last year. I was talking about pieces
since we're talking since our last Super Bowl. Same team they're going against.
We knew if Carter could ever get his off the field stuff straight as a football player,
Did it enough to make an impact.
Yes,
saved him the Rams game.
Right. So these
keep going.
C.J. Gardner-Johnson back for second trip with them.
Nope.
On defense.
No. I mean,
who am I missing?
They got a pretty good defensive back from Toledo.
Yes.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
Yeah.
I know you wanted to say two, and you forgot the two biggest ones.
I forgot
and
more.
Him and Carter. Charlie, that's
a lot.
It's massive to the point where, I mean, golly, I mean, they're loaded.
Mm-hmm.
Loaded. I mean, Barkley's having a running back year like we haven't seen in this league in a long time.
It's been a minute. The 2,000
yards.
But
just the tough yards, the big play. I mean, it's the most suspect part on the team is the damn quarterback.
Let me ask you this.
Because you don't know what you're getting, and we don't have to go into it. But if he plays adequately, they're going to be hard to beat.
If you had a vote for MVP and you had to vote the day after the regular season ended, who would you vote for?
Well, I'm
going somewhere with this.
I think that here's one of my deals, and that is, and Henry was an impact, but Henry, and asking him let him make the impact maybe as much as he could have in the playoffs. But I mean, Barkley is just having so much better. See, I've got a cluster of quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've got two running backs, but there's so much. I mean, Barkley's impact at that position is just, I think it's the most special this season.
But you agree that of the 50 people that vote on the MVP, probably all of them voted for
either. The MVP is now a quarterback.
Would have been either Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
If you're a facilities manager at a university, you know students rely on the cafeteria for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and the occasional late-night snack. So when a dishwasher breaks down and dirty plates pile up, the mess hall can turn messy in the blink of an eye. Enter Grainger. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast delivery, the product you need now is never far away. So you can turn that dishwasher back into a lean, clean washing machine. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
At Kroger Pharmacy, care is what's most convenient for you. Care is being here when you need us. We're open evenings and weekends. Care is helping you save more. Most insurance plans and discount cards are accepted at your local Kroger Pharmacy. Care is saving you time by managing your prescriptions online. You can request refills, check order status, and more. Care is convenience that works for everyone. Kroger Health, a world of care is in store. Services and availability vary by location. Age and other restrictions may apply. For coverage, consult your health insurance company. Visit the pharmacy or our site for details.
Had to vote those same 50 guys again after 2 playoff games. Don't you think Barkley would have won it?
Yeah.
If you add the 2 playoff games in, I do too, and I would have voted the same way
because now we get to see him do it where he hadn't had an opportunity.
That's right.
Before,
and he's the difference. I mean, wasn't he the difference in the Rams game? I mean, if Barkley's not in that game, I think the Rams win that game.
If he could kick extra points too, he'd be
really. Then they would have covered. Then they would have covered. Thank you very much.
Why is he kicking 55-yard field goals outside to give him the short field?
I don't know.
I mean, you just kind of. I mean, it's as bad as it started. Washington was still kind of hanging around.
I mean,
the turnovers. You go from you don't commit 2 turnovers. A young team, and they handle it, which was supposed to be a tougher stage. Your first 2 playoff games. Then when you get a little rhythm going, 4 turnovers to 0. I mean, they can't overcome that. We know that. No. And it's not. How many were in Daniels?
The last one, but it was. The game was out of reach at that point. I thought that was an inconsequential turnover.
Yeah.
The game had been decided. Of all the things Washington did this year, almost all of them were right. Pretty much every move they made was right, with one exception. I don't know if they would do that Marshawn Lattimore trade again they had to do again.
Because the most critical, if there was what was the most critical play? It's 14-12. It's 4th down.
Yep.
And just kind of, here you go, the college championship, some similarities there.
Mm-hmm.
All right, you're going to have an advantage here outside. Well, that's one thing for your boy Smith for Ohio State to have an advantage on a single matchup with no safety over the top. That's gross. But Marshawn Lattimore, this is where he thrived, especially the big physical receivers, the Mike Evans of the world. And Gino, and A.J. Brown's a little different from Evans, but still big is the first thing you start with. And he just gets a clean release. And, yes, it was a nice throw, but, God, it was an easy throw. He's just got him beat so bad. It was in both of them, I thought it was the wide receivers were so much better than the DBs on that play. It made for what's supposed to be a really tough throw, kind of an easy throw, and an easy play down the field. Now, listen, Hurts has also shown the last couple of games he's not necessarily guaranteed of making that throw, but he put it comfortably there. Will Howard comfortably did, with a little room to spare, a little room for error where they put it, which made it especially, a nicer throw, more complimentary of the throw. But he was just whooped, dude. And, yes, age, over the hill, piling up injuries, whatever. And I don't know if he's going to be able to reverse this, where he is right now, because he ain't close.
I think he can get back to where he is a passable defensive back. I don't think he'll ever be an elite defensive back again. A.J. Brown had 97 yards and a touchdown in the first game against Washington, which was the second game that they played. There were 3 penalties on Lattimore in that game. This game, 96 yards and a touchdown, and there were 3 penalties on Lattimore. All 3 of them were on Lattimore. At least 2 of them were. So it's basically 100 yards and a touchdown and another 50, 60 yards of penalties in both games where A.J. Brown just kind of worked him. So
Evans worked him bad too.
Yeah,
and he got a lot of penalties in that one. Yeah, so we're live over here at Mike Anderson's, and closed for Tuesday and Wednesday, the snow day, as just about everybody else in town last week. But man, this past weekend they were rocking and rolling and getting back in the swing of things. People missed their oysters, man. People missed their seafood over here at Mike Anderson's. 2 of my favorite appetizer features that are special right now, and that is the Royal Reds down from the Mississippi Gulf Coast, and also the tuna stack with the fresh avocados. A high grade of tuna. You talk about delicious stuff on the wonton chips. 2 of my favorite appetizer specials that are going on right now here at Mike Anderson's. A little cooler right now. The gumbo is always good, chicken and sausage, or my favorite, seafood gumbo made with that crab stock, which is so good. And it's oyster night tonight. That is half off. Oysters on the half shell from 5 to 9 p.m. in the bar. And we got bar specials as well on our draft beer and our mixed drinks as well. So Tuesday night, and every Tuesday night in the bar area, 5 to 9 p.m. is half off on oysters on the half shell over here at Mike Anderson's on Lee, just off of Nicholson.
Live at Mike Anderson's, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. The Thibodaux Store, 900 St. Patrick Highway in Thibodaux. Your home improvement specialist. You say, what do I know about doing home improvements, man? I'm no carpenter. I'm not good at any of that stuff. Well, let the experts at the Thibodaux Store show you how easy it is to save on some of these smaller projects that you can do that they can walk you through step by step. You won't be wasting time and money. You won't be wasting money on materials you don't need or on procedures that don't work. So let the Thibodaux Store help you out there. Ask their experts to tell you exactly what course to proceed on. Hand tools, power tools, plumbing supplies, electrical supplies, and also specialty items at the Thibodaux Store. Tons of grills, including the Big Green Egg cookers, Cypress furniture, lots of fishing equipment, crawfish, and jambalaya pots. The sister property, the Pierre Part Store in Pierre Part, just celebrated their 113th year anniversary. So check them out. And online where delivery is free at ThibodauxStore.com.
Live at lunch with Ott and Yanni from Mike Anderson Seafood on Lee Drive on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Remember, you can always get the show on demand, LouisianaSports.net, 1045ESPN.com. New Handycast we dropped last night. It's our final football Handycast of the season with Richard Dixon. We went through the entire spring roster. I got to tell you, it was a lot of fun doing that because the roster's loaded going into spring. And seeing as, these days my choices are watch the LSU basketball team who's, kept one game within single digits in the losses. Saints coach and search, which, they're getting turned down by guys who, are not even head coaches. And or the Pelicans where, they have a complete roster about once a month or so. So getting to do the LSU football preview for spring, it's like, man, they got a lot of guys. We're going to switch to baseball starting next week, but the last football one is up right now on YouTube at Handycast on YouTube. You tired of the Chiefs?
Yeah.
Is everybody tired of the Chiefs?
Did you think they got the calls here?
I thought they got.
Have you been on board with that? That you think they've gotten the benefit of the calls and
the
critical
Chiefs,
times?
Yes, the Chiefs get plenty calls, and they got some calls in this game. But this is what
Which ones?
I keep coming back to on the Chiefs is that maybe they get calls, but do they? First of all, the call that everybody's talking about, I can't tell you with great certainty whether Allen made it or not. Okay, watching it live, I thought he was short, but watching one replay from one side, I can see where you thought he made it, but I couldn't bet my life on it. It's not like the Nola no call.
The bigger deal on that call is the call from the coach, in that you've struggled in short yardage all game. They know what you're doing. They've anticipated. They saw your tendency going to the left. The broadcasters are announcing it. Mm-hmm. I mean, and you're still going to go with something that you've really struggled with, and with a quarterback that you can run a pass run option. He's as good as anybody in the league. He's one of the best historically on a pass run option.
Yeah,
and you don't use that. We're just going to run to here. They're loading up there. And it's not a tush, because it's a half-ass tush push, and that's the biggest thing.
He likes to pick a hole. He kind of runs it more like Matthew Stafford does at quarterback.
He runs left.
Yes, almost every time.
Well, they took away left,
and
it was hard. And then they ran the option on the goal line one time, and Cook had to extend himself, and you do stretch it out on fourth down. But those short yards were hard, and I just think that the Bills not getting past the Chiefs in the postseason is more on the lopsided advantage for the Chiefs, not with the whistle, but on the bench. And I'm sorry, but what do you think about Spagnuolo versus Brady?
All I know is that Kansas City, every time they need to make a play, they make it. Offense, defense, special teams, every time they need to make a play, they make it.
So the play that ended the game
they brought the pressure and Allen
had
to bail.
They know they know where the pressure. I mean, Allen makes an unbelievable play.
Yes, just to get the ball there.
Yes, I mean he just that is just to have a chance. He understands. No, he can't take a sack. He can't throw it away. It's fourth down, not first, second down. You throw the ball up for grabs. I mean, beggars can't be choosy. Throw it up. Give yourself a chance. And of all things, he puts it right in the freaking guy's hands. I'm sorry, right in his elbows.
Yeah.
He didn't even have to extend his hands. It was in his lap.
I almost wondered if he was surprised that when he saw the ball left that it actually got there.
No. The unorthodox, the non-script affected him. But still, he's got to catch that ball.
Yeah.
I get it, but it's Reed versus McDermott. It's Spagnuolo, in the big spot, because and the Bills, when it's time to put a foot on the gas, they're not quite as great. How about in the fourth quarter? What do we think about Allen? What makes him great? What makes him special?
Oh, he's got physical talent as a dual threat guy.
One of his physical talents is being able to, is maybe the strongest arm in the league.
Got a bazooka arm.
For throwing it down.
Mm-hmm.
So you didn't throw one pass pass the line of scrimmage in the fourth quarter?
Wow, I didn't realize that.
I mean, we're talking about coaching malpractice, dude.
I watched the game and didn't realize they didn't throw a single one. That's one of those things you read after the game. Like, really, I watched
until the scramble.
Yeah,
heave.
until
I mean, what are you doing?
No, that's tough to defend when you. That's one of
no,
those
it's easy to defend.
To defend why they would call plays like that.
Right. So I mean that's the thing. I mean, could they have given him a spot there? Yeah, but. Is it the Chiefs getting a 50-50 call? Yeah. I mean, but I think they got it right.
Again,
live.
I thought he was short. First replay from the near side, I thought he was short. The other side replay, you look and go, well, okay. But it's not a slam dunk either way, I don't think. What I came out of this game with was...
Well, if they called it, whatever they call it on the field is sticking.
Yeah, it has to.
I agree with that.
We're going to be inundated next week with the Kansas City Dynasty stuff, and they're going to be comparing them, the national media, all week to the... Well, hang on.
I mean,
and it's fine because they're going for something unprecedented. I don't mind the comparisons when there's actually something to back them up. So here's my thing. If I talk about them against the Patriots... 3 and 5 years. If I talk about them against the Cowboys, 3 and 4 years, the Niners, 4 and 8 years, the Steelers, 4 and 6 years. What I remember about those teams is they steamrolled a lot of people. A lot of people. This Kansas City team, and I don't know if this makes them better or worse, 17 consecutive one-score games they have won. That's a miraculous stat.
There's a ton of luck in there.
I mean, or is it? After a while, great teams make plays when they have to?
No, Charlie, it's a lot of everything.
Yeah.
It's a lot of everything. You talk to – there aren't many championship teams that stick around and say, man, we didn't catch a break here and there. Greatest college team ever. Right here in LSU, okay, if we want to stick with that. I think everybody around here agrees with that. What was their break that year? Their break was the schedule. No, not because they played, but every tough game, they had an exhale spot. Ole Miss wasn't good that year. It was next up. Mississippi State wasn't good that year. They had not the overall. Though they played more top 10 teams, 7 of them, 4 of them finishing the top 10, 6 of the final poll in the top 13.
The order.
I mean, yeah. I mean, you never had a game where the opponent had the ball in a one-score game in the fourth quarter. I mean, Joe Burrow. Texas, boom, within one play. Well, fourth down. Bye-bye. See you. Jefferson, put it away. Auburn scores. Boom, onside kick. Got it. Ball game's over. Alabama, they got cut. Boom, Clyde for 11. Nope, that game's over. No, finish it off. Anytime they got close, they never had the ball. And Joe put them away every time. But they did have. You played Florida, then you can exhale. You played Auburn, but then you exhale. You had a bye before Alabama, then you exhale.
Right. There was the order of it helped them. I tricked myself into thinking Kansas City was vulnerable. I picked Buffalo. I said, well, I thought Buffalo was a better team. And
Kansas City is vulnerable.
Except they never get hit, or at least for the last year they haven't.
The guy is unbelievable, and he has not been but when the game's on the line, one time when they got overrun. In this game has a chance for it. Because we just talked about how improved Philadelphia is, especially on defense, with 4 impact guys that they didn't have 2 years ago. And they could make it there's a chance to make it like that Tampa Bay Super Bowl, where he was running for his life, they couldn't block him. And there's a chance. But you got to bet against Mahomes? Big game.
Do it at your own peril. I bet against him twice in these playoffs, and I'm poorer for it. And I still like Buffalo in the damn game. I still thought Buffalo did a lot of things good in this game and could have won the game, but they didn't. Because when it comes time,
Kansas City right out the chute, though, that was an impressive opening drive.
It was.
I mean, that was. I thought the better team won.
I took the lead to the fourth quarter. I felt pretty good. I really did. I thought Buffalo's going to get them this time, but they didn't. Because when Kansas City needs to make a play, they do, and Buffalo didn't.
It's just in the fourth quarter, how much did they lead, and how much did Kansas City lead?
Oh, they led by 1 point going into the fourth quarter for all of 4 minutes.
What did they do?
When we did the show at 11 o'clock and you said, who do you like? And I said, Buffalo. If you'd have told me you're going to take a 1 point lead to the fourth quarter, I said, okay, I'm good.
It looked like they dodged their bullet. They were down 11 and kicking off the second half.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. That they don't.
I mean, it was a terrible, terrible first half. They get the opening kickoff, and they're down 11. I mean, and what has been an offensive game, and it was again. Here's another one for you. Kansas City scored 30 for the first time this year.
When they need it.
So if you have that, you got 29. It's just falling. But they pick. It's Mahomes picking his spots, too. Just
great teams aren't always great. They're just great when they have to be.
No, but they've had a lot of clutch. They've had a lot of good. They're a lot of good coaching, and they've had their fair share of luck. And some of the calls have been it. And this was kind of one of that 50-50 call. But it was pitiful that with all of the tools that guy brings to the table, you tell me if you properly tush push, you're going to keep him from getting it. There's no way.
No, he's too big.
He's every bit as strong as Hurts.
He's too big. He's too big to stop at that point. I got some tush-push thoughts when we get to first, second Notre Dame.
Don't forget our friends over at Chad Reynolds and Legacy Title, 296-0060, full-service title company servicing all of South Louisiana. Fast, friendly, professional services, which you get every time you call 296-0060. Ashley Donald, Mariana Haynes, Adria Galata, Michael Platt, and Edie Cagnolati. 296-0060. Chad Reynolds, Legacy Title.
Live at Mike Anderson's Live at Lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Heading out to Las Vegas, deep in the desert, lives one man. One man of many sports bets. The one and only Andy Isco.
So we gave Will Clem his flowers earlier, right?
Yeah.
He didn't go undefeated. There's only one man that went undefeated Sunday.
Is he the one man of many sports bets?
That's it. My man Andy Isco. The over 47, Washington and Philly. Ding! Philadelphia minus a 3.5 in the first half. Now without a little stress. Ding! Bobby Mahoney had that too. Sit next to me. And then Kansas City minus 2. Oh, of course, a rocking chair.
No problem.
Ding! Congratulations, Andy. Nice job, sir.
Well, thank you, gentlemen. Of course, that first half was a little hairy when it was 14-12, and then all of a sudden it's 27-12 with those plays at the end of the first half. But part of it was that I had respected Washington's ability to play from behind, and perhaps if it was a more competitive game, but for the turnovers, the result might have been different. But I felt the one I think I said I felt most comfortable about was the over.
How many would just like the better team? Turnovers are some. They're just part of the story. But this was just like ball security things. It wasn't freezing cold like it was in, Baltimore, Buffalo or something. I mean, this was just out of character ball security and a lot of stuff like that. Because Jane Daniels, one thing he's done, I mean, even we know what he did his Heisman Trophy year. Got it. His rookie year. But the other years at Arizona State and here his first year at LSU, he protects the ball. And he has maintained that in his rookie year. So he's not going to be just a turnover machine overnight.
And a guy like Eckler, who has handled the ball so much in his career, I mean, I know he's on.
Yes.
He's not a fumbler.
No, he's not. That's out of character.
Very much so. Very much so.
Yeah.
Yeah, and of course, the thing that's interesting is that coming into the game, none of the four teams had lost turnovers throughout the postseason. So it was a little bit surprising, and sometimes, when you make that first mistake, it gets in your head. And maybe that was something that Washington had, or maybe it was just Philadelphia's technique. They did very well as far as forcing turnovers during the season, and maybe it just carried over. I mean, Philadelphia was clearly the better team, but when Washington was not turning the ball over, they were able to move the football.
Andy brings up a good point. That one of them was near that sideline where they punch it out, and I think Blankenship falls on it before it goes out of bounds. I mean, they're looking to punch that ball out.
That was the De'Ami Brown fumble, the one you're talking about? Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. And that one was a big one, I thought. Because they were moving the football. It was going to be a first down, and he gets it knocked out.
Yeah, Andy. So ask Andy the same thing you asked me, Charlie, about the Chiefs.
Andy, we were next week, we're going to be inundated with these comparisons to the great dynasties in the NFL. Are the Chiefs are just a great team that makes great plays only when they have to, or are they vulnerable?
It's probably a little bit of both because they are obviously very clutch. We know about their record in in one-possession games, I think, going back to the 2023 season. I remember, what are they, like 16 in a row or something? 17
It's
in a
17
row now?
in a row now. 17
Yeah,
in a row.
and the good teams are able to do that. Now, as far as comparing them to a dynasty, keep in mind, this will be, their fifth Super Bowl in the last 6 years, something like that. And they've won three of them. They lost that one to Tampa Bay. And, obviously they're going for the historic, three-peat this time. Mahomes is still under 30, so he's got a lot of football that he can still be playing. And you wonder, how, we hear the thought about Brady and his 35 postseason wins. There's nothing to suggest that Mahomes, and much like Brady, except for that one season, if he stays healthy, there's no reason why he can't win another 15 to 20. Over let's say if he plays just to age 40.
All right, Andy. So, I think the 17 too. When we talk about the 17, a lot of those are the regular season game. I think they got a little sloppy in the regular season. And a little bit. I mean, that's understandable. We've seen other teams maybe not have that killer instinct during the regular season, especially when they always seem to have a 3 or 4 game lead in their division and they're not really threatened. So I see a little bit of that sloppiness. But I like the team that played against Denver at home this year, they could not have played that game and won on Sunday. And they know that. They know they come out, and Mahomes hit, 90-something yard drop,
And they couldn't have played the way they played against Houston the week before and won.
They were bad that game, huh? I mean, is Houston that good up
They just
front?
weren't good enough to beat Buffalo with that kind of effort. They needed everything they had to beat Buffalo. They could get by with They could get by with the B- game against Houston, not against
who
Buffalo.
knows what happens?
But is it a B- game or just that Houston's pass rush is that damn good?
Who knows what happens if the official gets that first down error corrected?
You thought it was an error?
Yeah, I thought it was a first down. I thought he crossed. The guy who was closest to the marker was the one on the top of the screen signaling first down.
I thought they got it right. I thought whatever they called it on the field was going to stand. I mean, it was so hard to see, exactly where he got to and things like that. I just have a problem with the Bills knowing that Kansas City had recognized a trend on the short yardage to go left. The broadcasters even know it. I mean, they ran right into the teeth again, and it was just, and that's the biggest thing. When they're 4-0 in the postseason, this thing has a big advantage on the bench, man. Andy Reid is just so much stronger, especially in the bigger games, because coached so many bigger games than McDermott.
He and Spagnuolo did a brilliant job of mixing up their play calling on both sides of the ball game.
Well, Spagnuolo is gotten a lot of run, and rightfully so, to the point where they're talking about the first assistant coach maybe going into the Canton.
Yeah, come on. He's the first, I think, assistant coach.
There's been some of those conversations, Charlie.
Yeah.
An assistant coach? I know Dick LeBeau went in, but that was taking into account his time as a player as well. Yeah. So I don't know about that one.
He's not getting in. He's not getting in. LeBeau didn't get in because any of his playing ability.
I think they gave him I think it was taken into consideration. I do. I do.
You don't think Spagnuolo has? I mean, this is the super finesse that all of a sudden he's had to go. It's usually the opposite when Bradshaw in his offensive pieces get more experience. Know they could take a defensive-oriented team, a team that won it clearly with their defense, and all of a sudden they start outscoring people, and some others as well. But man, to go this way, your young quarterback breaks through. He's your guy. He's getting more experience, but you're doing it more with your defense as you go deeper.
Defenses have made just as many plays for Kansas City this year to preserve some of these games. And the special teams.
You didn't think so last year?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. This is going back over a 2-year period. When they need a special teams play, that Denver game that Andy was talking about, you get a blocked 35-yard field goal. What are the percentages of a blocked 35-yard field goal? 35-yard field goals are automatic in the NFL.
How about
they got the block because they needed it?
How about the first game of the season where the Baltimore receiver was, his toe was like 2 inches too long or something over the end line?
Likely,
They win
yeah.
that game to open the season.
Likely.
Or Cincinnati in week 2.
On the end line.
Coming back in week 2 against Cincinnati.
Andy, you look.
Yep.
Oh, the fourth down interference call. Another 50-50 call that goes their way. There's no doubt about it. So I do think they've gotten some fair share of calls, though I don't think that the calls were the difference in this game. I just don't think that. I thought it was at critical times that, they made some decisions on the sidelines that were just more sound, just better. And, we're going to put the focus of our defense here. We know you're coming, and you're not going to do anything.
The 2-point conversion play that Buffalo went for made no sense at all.
How about when they not using Allen as a run pass option when he could do both? How about not using Allen's arm in the last quarter when after they took the 1-point lead, they didn't throw one ball until the last ball was downfield, past the line of scrimmage. I mean, the play before. How about not challenging the spot on the tight end, on the throw to Kincaid on third down? You think he'd get to the spot there?
Yeah, no, that one I thought was a lot more.
Yes, that one you can clearly see. You can review that one.
In the middle of the scrum.
I'm even looking at the plays in the Eagles game with the tush push. With the guy coming over all the time. Why doesn't the Eagles in that formation have a blocking back and a running back? They know what's going to happen as soon as they're anticipating the count. You pitch it to the running back to your left. The blocking back takes out whoever's the spy over there, and he gets in there for the easy touchdown.
Yeah. Andy, any props you looking at already?
Haven't really taken a look at them. We're not, they've had some generic ones out there, but I haven't looked at anything as far as what I'll be talking about, let's say next Tuesday when we get all the props out. I do know one that's a safety prop that I used to play every year and cash 3 years in a row, and the prices come down. Well, I think it's now been 10 years since the last of those 3 safeties. And I think part of it is that you have more teams now going for it where it's questionable punting situation on 4th down where they might normally punt the ball and try and put it inside the 5, which sets up the possible safety. They're now going for it and often making it on 4th down from positions on the field where in the past they might normally look to pin it inside the 5.
We'll get those props from you next week. And now we're off this football Sunday, but we'll be back to conclude. And nice job again on your picks this football season. One more show on football Sunday. Super Bowl Sunday, 10 a.m. to noon from the Beau Rivage. Andy, thank you, buddy. Follow Andy on Twitter at VegasAndy711, at VegasAndy711. Thank you, Andy.
Thanks, guys.
Don't forget our friends at K&M Automotive on Siegen Lane between Perkins Road and I-10, right across the street from Ambrosia Bakery. Jason Payne going to give you an honest deal, fair deal. That's all we want. Just when you bring your car to get service, just give me a fair shake. Engine light comes on, no problem. We'll figure it out what's going on with it. Belts, hoses, general services, undercar services, electronic services, transmission, AC repair when it gets warmer, brakes, or just an oil change. Go see my buddy Jason Payne over at K&M Automotive, 8445 Siegen Lane, near Perkins Road, right across from Ambrosia Bakery. It's the only place I take my vehicle, 7:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday.
Live at Mike Anderson's Live at Lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at Lunch with Ott and Yanni from Mike Anderson Seafood on Lee Drive on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Down at the Senior Bowl, there's an interview going on right now. I think it may have just concluded with Mike Kafka, who's had a couple of interviews with the Saints. He's coaching down at the Senior Bowl this week. One of the Giants' assistants having a little problems.
Wait, he's with the Giants?
He's with the he's with the Giants.
So why are we? He was with the Saints.
No, the Saints have interviewed him twice. So he's down at the Senior Bowl coaching this week. And
who's he?
Mike Kafka. You remember him? He was a quarterback at Northwestern.
Yeah, absolutely. I do.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely.
And you know how good the Giants were on offense last year, right?
They weren't good.
No, they weren't.
One game.
Which game was that?
Colts.
Oh yeah. They scored like 42 points, right?
Lock.
It was Drew Lock and some receiver that we didn't know that I'd never heard of scored 2 touchdowns or something like that.
Malik had a big day too.
He did too. It's a Pro Bowl.
I think they scored the most points in the week. You know, they got that prop each and every week.
Yeah.
They scored like 47. They didn't stop them.
No, I remember the game because we were on the Colts, and it's like, where's this Giants offense?
Yes.
Where's this Giants offense coming from? Well, for that day at least, but the rest of the days, the Saints did talk to Kellen Moore. They went to Philadelphia to talk to Kellen Moore yesterday. That interview happened last night. Moore, if he takes a job, would be the youngest coach in the NFL. And they may talk to Mike McCarthy later this week. It looks like that interview is going to take place. So not expecting anything as far as a hire here in the next few days. Probably wait into next week, maybe even after
all the other hires been made?
Yes, they are the last ones on the board. Take a break, come back. First class, second class, no class to lead off hour number 2 from Mike Anderson's Live at Lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at Lunch, First Class.
I want a seat in first class where I was booked and ticketed over a month ago.
Second Class.
No man should be subjected to the indignity of being labeled or treated like a second-class citizen.
And No Class.
Life had become like school on Sunday. No class.
I'll tell you what then. Why don't you call me sometime when you have no class?
First Class, Second Class, and No Class. Brought to you by Supreme Rice. Buy local with Louisiana-based Supreme Rice since 1936.
Here at Mike Anderson's, Leslie at Nicholson Live at Lunch. Glad to have you with us here today. First class, second class, and no class. I'm going to start out with this is first class, kind of a shout out. Former LSU Tiger, doing good. Kelvin Shepard, you remember him, was a freshman on the 07 national championship team, was a 3-year starter, was an all-SEC guy at LSU in 2010. Played in the league for 7 years, kind of bounced around. I think he played for 6 different teams, but he was a productive player in the NFL. Then he retired, got a job here at LSU. Director of player personnel, was here a year. Then he went back into the NFL. Got a job as the outside linebackers coach with Detroit. After a year, moved up to the full-time linebackers coach. And yesterday, got the job as the defensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions. So really nice career path for Kelvin Shepard. 37 years old, had a nice long career. Really, really good player. I always like watching him play. And he's moved his way up.
Redskins and who else?
Detroit. He was with Buffalo, I think, for years, with the Colts. Number of different teams.
Most years, which team you spent the most years with?
I think it was Buffalo, but I gotta look that up. I had it written down, and I think it was Buffalo. But yeah, it seemed like he played everywhere that he played. Like he was a starter for the first 5 years of his career. And there was a couple of injuries and things like that. I'm trying to remember. I know it was 6 teams. And which one did he play the most for?
3 teams he played 2 years apiece with. Okay. Buffalo, Miami, and the Giants, all 2 apiece.
I forgot about the Miami.
I'm thinking part. Now, when I think of Shepard, I think of another Georgia linebacker that came in the same class that played. And they were kind of what and what not and had similar careers. What was his name?
I'm trying to think.
Riley?
Yeah. Well, no, Perry Riley was on DiNardo's team. Give me a second, and I'll think of it. But I can see him, and his name's on the tip of my tongue.
2007 recruiting class?
He was a freshman in 2007. Shepard was, yeah.
You don't remember that they both came in?
Yes, I do, and I'm trying to remember the guy's name, and I can't do it. I'm into another seg. I'll think of it as soon as I'm trying not to think of it. Right. Of course. So first class to Kelvin Shepard because with that team, with the defensive guys they got coming back, he does well there. Maybe he's a head coach. In a few years. Aaron Glenn, defensive coordinator with the Lions, took that job, catapulted into the Jets head coaching job. So maybe Kelvin Shepard. Who knows? Might end up being that guy. Second class, good with a chance to be great. Last Friday, we were talking about LSU and South Carolina women's basketball. LSU was going to Columbia because the snow out or whatever, and so they're playing an afternoon game, and we were going to see. They were 20-0. South Carolina had only lost one game. It was to UCLA, who was number one at the time. How would LSU do? 2 years ago, LSU went into South Carolina, got blown out by 22. They won the national championship that year. They didn't have to play South Carolina again, and everything worked out. How much, where were they? Where was the measuring stick? LSU lost the game by 10. But in the 23 season, when they won the national title, when they left South Carolina, I said they can't beat that team. If they had played them in the tournament, all due respect, I don't think that they would have beaten South Carolina. There was a big-time disadvantage in the paint. That South Carolina team was had a lot more size. They had a lot more depth. If they'd have played 10 times, I think South Carolina would have beat them 10 times. We'll never know. Doesn't matter. LSU won the national championship. This time, I thought that LSU was right there. The biggest thing that surprised me in this game was that they out-rebounded South Carolina, who is a bigger team, by 12 on the road. I thought that was a big deal. The turnover battle was not – they didn't go in there and, have a bad turnover game as far as the discrepancy. They turned the ball over 5 times more than South Carolina. Again, on the road, that's not something that you can't overcome. The difference in the two teams was the depth. We talked about it on Friday. South Carolina's leading two scorers come off the bench. They go 10 deep, and it's with very little drop-off from the first group to the second group. Well, their bench outscored LSU's bench 31-2, and that was the difference. But here's why I say good with a chance to be great. I think if these teams played again in the postseason, not in Columbia, I think LSU would have a chance.
Really?
They missed 54 shots in this game, of which I don't like to say how many layups they missed because people count layups differently. But I think that there were enough shots there that were good shots that they just missed that on another day they might make. And I'm not saying they were 3 of 14 from three-point range. I'm not talking about that. I'm not saying, well, you got to get hot and have this unbelievable game from 3. I'm talking about from 2. Very makeable shots in the paint, going to the goal that they just didn't hit. I think that on the right day they could beat them. The free throw discrepancy was big. A lot of people talk about that. Listen, I've seen enough college basketball games, men and women. The home team is going to shoot more free throws than the visiting team 90% of the time. And a lot of times it is a big discrepancy. This one was 26-9. That's not terribly uncommon. I think LSU would have a chance if they played again. They'd have to play great. They'd have to have a big game out of one of their stars because they're not terribly deep. But I think they would have a chance. And 2 years ago, I didn't feel that way. So that's my good with a chance to be great. The LSU women's basketball team still 21-1 now. They won their game against Texas A&M. And my note.
Comparing a little bit, because there's a little point of difference. Now, South Carolina only beat Tennessee by 7 last night, but at Tennessee, same place where LSU played them and won on that
shot at the buzzer.
Yeah, the shot at the buzzer wasn't like I think it was tied though when they get the shot, right? Or were they down?
No, I thought they were down a point.
Oh, really?
I think so. I got to go back.
Okay,
and look,
so 50. But the only thing is, it was not like that. I mean, they were up 18 going to fourth.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry. It was tied. You're right. It was tied.
Yeah.
It was tied. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm just saying, like, I don't know.
You watched that game 2 years ago when they played the team that won the national championship in South Carolina. They would have lost 2 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
They would have lost 10 out of 10 to South Carolina.
Yeah, they got beat by. They played in the same place at Columbia. Heck, they're beating them 17 years. Beat LSU 17 years in a row.
Yeah.
Or 17 games in a row.
Yeah. Well, you
17 games in a row, Charlie.
5 with Mulkey.
That was our LSU women's basketball budget. 17 in a row.
Before Kim Mulkey got here, women's basketball was, shall we say, neglected in the recruiting area for a few years. Is that fair?
How many of these are Mulkey?
5. I mean, yes, South Carolina's really good. No argument there. But I don't feel like there's this vast gulf between the two teams like I did 2 years ago.
South Carolina's got a bigger budget than LSU women?
I have no idea, but it would be hard to see how. I know Dawn Staley's salary is a little bit higher than Mulkey's, but
it's not like Southern. The head coach doesn't pay the whole salary himself.
No,
which is.
I have no idea what their women's basketball budget is, but they're deeper. I know
it's
that.
It's like a boxing entourage on the bench, huh?
It's a lot of people. it's a lot of people. And LSU's got the
inter-squad games.
They've got the number one recruiting class in the country coming in next year, and they're losing some players. They're losing Morrow. So we'll see. But I think that they've got a chance, and South Carolina's as good as anybody. They get into the NCAA tournament. I think that there's a very good possibility they get back into the Final Four. Can't miss 54 shots.
The gap. I think I agree with you. Is tighter than it was 2 years ago.
Yeah, and 2 years ago they won the title. So hope springs there.
But this South Carolina team are they as big of a favorite as they were last year to win it?
No, they're not, because I think UCLA is maybe and USC is very good. They've got the best player in the country. Notre Dame is very good. No, there's not this gulf between any one team.
All right, I agree, Charlie.
All right, let me see if these words, as we go to no class, these words mean anything to you. Palpably unfair act.
Yeah,
you ever heard that one before?
Mm-hmm.
You have.
Mike Pereira.
Before
he said
Sunday.
He's been waiting for a long time to. How long has he been with Fox? I've been having that in my hip pocket for a long time. I've been waiting on it.
So before Sunday, had you ever heard?
No, I had not.
Me neither. When they said palpably unfair act, what was your reaction?
I kept saying, keep doing it. I mean, what you risking? 2 inches. I mean, they might snap at one time when you do it. You're not going to stop it just being there. I mean, it's a tush push with Philadelphia. You're not stopping it.
Yes, and it illustrates how ridiculous allowing you to push a player, which was against the rules forever in the NFL, is. This play, run properly, it's like the damn Karate Kid crane kick. You do it right, you can't defense it, okay? And it's not
Buffalo's excuse.
They didn't execute it well.
Mm-hmm. Stupid.
Yes. If you are resorting to these techniques, if you want to call them that, of diving over the pile, this is just how ridiculous this has become. And, I talked to a guy on Twitter, said, man, it's a loser take, because if you can't stop it, why are you going to make them stop running it? Because it's not how the game is designed to be played. The game was never designed for people to push and pull people with the football. It was against the rules for years, and it still should be. What they are doing is a rugby play. It is not a football play. I got no problem with the quarterback sneak. Sneak it all you want. That's a perfectly legitimate play. But having 270-pound guys or whatever they got pushing behind him, no, you're not going to stop it. And no, it's not how the game is meant to be played. I think they should go back to the old
While it
rule.
is like this, I mean,
I don't blame them for taking advantage of it.
Buffalo, my goodness, what are you doing?
My no class is to the rules committee for not outlawing this play 2 years ago. Does it make any sense that you can pull somebody?
I'm surprised it's still around.
I am too.
I'm with you on this. I'm surprised it's still around. But while it is, and I'm going to take it a step further, have you noticed? Now, you can push, but you can't pull. Guess what? Yeah. They're letting them do it.
Mm-hmm.
I watched the college football playoff. You got linemen pulling the guy into the end zone. You got to pull in the guy. They're pulling him in the NFL now too. So that is still a penalty, but they're not even calling that anymore.
Of all of the things that they have outlawed for player safety, I mean, everything from hits to the head to breathing on Patrick Mahomes' forearm pads is outlawed in the area of player safety. Yet we are. Did you see Jason Kelce the first time they asked him about that play after he retired? He was like, oh, man, every time they call it, yeah, we can run it. Yeah, we're going to make the first down, but, it's going to hurt like hell. Do we have to wait until somebody has a very serious injury before?
I'm surprised, and it's not so much on that one, but it's like on the other ones where the guy is – man, he's just holding on to the ball, and they pushing, and they got guys other push. I mean, it's amazing that nobody has been hurt yet.
And not just the quarterback, but the lineman and that pile of humanity.
Yes, I mean you're compromised, and you have that much weight, and to somebody not to tear a knee to this point, and then finally somebody's going to do it, and let's do it,
right.
And then let's change it. That's too risky. It's not football. It's not fun to watch. It's not. There's no strategy. But then, if it's still allowed, damn Buffalo. I mean, just do it.
Yeah, in the AFC Championship game with the season on the line in Kansas City, yes, this is the time to put your quarterback at risk, okay? Yeah, not in a September game against Seattle, okay? This is the AFC Championship game. Yes, now we're gonna put Allen on everything he's got.
My memory was right on Calvert Shepard's teammate LSU because it was his teammate in high school. Also, they both came from Stone Mountain, Georgia. Perry Riley.
It was Perry Riley? Mm-hmm. Then which Riley am I thinking about? Maybe I'm thinking
Duke
about
Riley?
Joe. Well, it was a Duke
He's
Riley.
He's from Buras.
I might be thinking.
His dad drove him to River Ridge to go to school.
I thought DiNardo had a Riley on his team. I might be thinking about Joe Wesley. So it was Perry Riley? Yeah.
They're both Stone Mountain, Georgia.
Very good players. Very
Stone
good players.
So Shepard played 8 years, all but with 2 with Buffalo, 2 with New Giants, and 2 with Miami. Riley was the one because I kind of linked those guys together. He played all but 1 year, 6 out of 7 years with the Washington Redskins.
Yeah, and he was a very good player. Very good player.
I think they're both comparable players.
No, they're both very good players.
Yeah.
I agree completely. I'm trying. Maybe it's Joe Wesley that I'm thinking of, who played linebacker for DiNardo and played, I believe, in San Francisco when he got into the league. Am I remembering that right?
DiNardo was gone in the 90s.
I know. That's why
This is 2007.
I know. So why am I thinking?
You said first. You said the 2000.
First, I said Perry Riley, and I thought.
No, but first, you said the 2007 recruiting class. There's only one person from Georgia on the 2007 recruiting class. These guys were from the 2006 recruiting class.
Okay, 2007. He was the
2007 recruiting class. One guy from Georgia.
2007, one guy from Georgia. You got me.
His daddy was the Cajun Cannon.
T-Bob Hebert. Okay, that I remember.
He is just like his father.
Yes, yeah, and you're right. You know why? Because Shepard was a freshman in 2007, but he was a redshirt freshman. That's why I got that screwed up. So. Okay.
Why do you want to cut T-Bob's stage short, huh?
I don't know.
Did those guys lay the pavement to kind of the groundwork to come from Georgia to LSU, huh? Probably T-Bob's grandfather had a little bit of a say in this, from what I understand.
Yeah, I think he was a pretty big LSU fan, as I understand it. LSU were recruiting in Georgia. You know when LSU started recruiting better in Georgia? When Tennessee stopped. When Fulmer's pipeline out of Georgia kind of started to dry up, LSU got in there and started to get some players, because Fulmer owned Georgia for a while. And when he had his best teams in the 90s, the Jasper Sankses of the world, and it wasn't Cozy Coleman from Georgia.
Jasper Sanks went to Georgia.
Okay, then who am I thinking about?
Cozy Coleman and Jamal Lewis.
Jamal Lewis.
He rushed for 2,000 yards in the NFL.
I need a day off, man. First class, second class, no class, brought to you by Supreme Rice and SupremeRice.com. We're getting into baseball season, just a few weeks away. You're going out, your tailgate, and you're making your jambalaya, you're making your red beans, whatever you make it. Make it with Supreme Rice. Easy to pick it up at your Rouse's, at your Walmarts, anywhere you buy rice, pick it up, head into campus and make it with Supreme Rice. Long grain, medium grain, the brown, the jasmine, the parboiled rice, which has become a big staple at the Outhouse on Mondays. Also, the Low Glow for especially for diabetics. The Logo Rice Glow Rice now is available for Supreme Rice, and they're part of the Climate Smart program. which ensures that future generations of Louisiana farmers will get to enjoy the benefits as they promote methane emission reductions and water conservation. For more information and great recipes, go to the website at supremerice.com. Live at Mike Anderson's, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Ott and Yanni from Mike Anderson Seafood on Lee Drive on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Back here at Mike Anderson's, live at lunch, corner of Wesley and Nicholson. Come on by, man. Shane's. You see what Shane bought over the holiday that he has debuted here?
What's that?
He bought a bushwhacker machine.
Oh.
A bushwhacker machine. If you ever been to, and he is mimicking or not completely copying, but very close. If you ever been down to a little place called Floribama?
Yes.
It will make you a bushwhacker. He is tinkering with his recipe right now that it will be Floribama.
Who is credited with making it?
Oh, I don't know.
It's just I thought it was just kind of a Gulf Coast beachside kind of.
Pretty much.
Whether
I don't know where it started. That's where I got to know him, shall we say. I came in here to eat the other night, and I said, Shane, has that always been here, or did I am I just seeing it for the first time, or did you just get there? He goes, no, man, we just got that. He goes, got our recipe going on. That's good. Get it just right for the summertime.
We also, on Tuesdays it's oyster night, and it's half off oysters in the half shell every Tuesday night from 5 to 9 p.m. But on Wednesdays it's Wine Wednesdays, and all of our wines by the bottle are half price. All of our wines by the bottle are half price. So you talk about even the champagne. But the Silver Oak, Camus, Frank Family, Decoy are all half price if you want to get that. So our Chardonnays, like a Cake Bread or a Frank Family or Sonoma Cutrer, are all half price as well. That's Wine Wednesdays. Wines by the bottle are half price for Wine Wednesday every Wednesday night at the bar.
Max tells me that the bushwhacker was invented in the British Virgin Islands. Is that?
BVI.
I'm sorry, U.S. Virgin Islands. Excuse me.
U.S. Virgin Islands.
Okay. So now that we got,
you need to have your little pass, get a little pass to go on the taxi from the BVI to the St. John and St. Thomas.
You've been down there, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Very, very, very nice. I understand.
It's cool, man.
Yeah,
it's a cool vibe.
Tonight in Knoxville, Kentucky and Tennessee, both of them coming off excruciating road losses on Saturday. These two teams. Tennessee, we talked about that game a lot, going down to Auburn, and would Janai Broome play? Not only did he play, but Auburn had to have it. They had to have every bit to survive Tennessee and win that game by
33 minutes.
2. Yeah, I was surprised that they said minutes restriction. That went out the window as soon as they started the game. And in Kentucky, who led 69-68 at Vandy with under 2 minutes to go, did not score again. And Vanderbilt gets the last 6 points of the game and wins by 5, which was a particular consternation to us that took Kentucky in game plus 2.5. But I digress. So both of these teams coming off of really tough losses.
Kentucky 2.5
in game.
Oh, in game. Ouch.
Game.
Yes.
Yeah.
The total different levels of respect in those two losses. You go down to Auburn. I mean, it's a number one team. They deserve it. I think that's the toughest place to play in college basketball. That and Ames are my top two toughest places with the teams this year. And you lose at the end, at the buzzer. Man, it's one of those games I gained a little bit more respect out of Tennessee in a loss than even Auburn in a win. And how about the score, too? Low 50s.
53-51.
I mean, that's what they do first. They're going to defend you first. Kentucky, on the other hand, down double digits, gets hot, looks like they're going to pull away. I think they led for as much as 6 late in the game, on the 5, 6, 7 minute mark, somewhere in there. And Charlie, they gave up so many easy buckets to allow the Vanderbilt comeback. I mean, you got them on the ropes, and they just didn't defend. I mean, layup after layup, and it was just disappointing. And you have a style difference. I mean, Pope wants to get it up and down, but they're not playing really, really good defense. I think they're compromising. Where they really are, I'm impressed. Remind me of Pitino's first team at Kentucky, where they really wanted to shoot a lot of threes, but also had a lot of ball movement and their spacing, and the ball never stopped, and they got a lot of layups and back doors.
On probation.
Yes,
I remember that.
No, the one that lost to Duke.
Oh,
that's
that was.
Is that?
That wasn't his first team, but it was the bulk of the guys that he recruited that first year. Farmer and Phelps and
that was their first year of eligibility.
Yeah, Dale Brown was on that team.
That wasn't his first year.
No, because the first year they won probation, they couldn't go.
Kentucky, Pitino's first year.
Yeah, that was off.
Okay,
of the
first year
Mills
they were
stuff.
eligible. That team. Okay, and I think that the talent level. I mean, they just remind me a lot of each other. Well, of course, Pope played for Pitino.
Right.
He's an understudy, so he's going to have some of his principles in coaching. But I think they're in a funk right now, and I just think that Tennessee's going to defend them. And I think Tennessee, it's easier to slow it down than it is to get another team to rush. And I think that they, and at home. I like Tennessee in a big way tonight.
You have to, because they're a 10.5-point favorite.
Oh, my God. It's 10.5. It opened up 8.
That number surprised me. Back on that Auburn game, it would have been for Tennessee the best. What's the best win in college basketball so far this year? Ole Miss going to Alabama?
Yeah.
It's certainly one of maybe Houston beating Kansas on Saturday, which
you see?
Did I see? I had, and I lost.
Oh, my gosh.
They threw up on themselves on the inbound.
Why?
And Houston,
you don't sit a pick. I mean,
what are you doing? You're coming out of a timeout. You're coming out of a timeout.
Yeah, I mean, nobody sets picks anymore in inbounds plays.
It was.
You have one guy making a pass, right? See, in football, Charlie, it's illegal, but they still do it.
Right.
They pick guys because it helps so much. You can pick. Nobody picks. He didn't pick twice, and I'm screaming at the TV. I was at Mahoney's watching. I was like, "What this is a Hall of Fame coach. Just cannot operate an inbounds play."
You got the ball and the lead, a 3-point lead, and the ball with 7.5 seconds to go, and managed to lose the game.
That's at the end of overtime. At the end of regulation, they had the ball and a 2-point lead and couldn't inbound the ball with less than 30 seconds to go. They got a 5-second violation on that one. So you can't learn from the first one. And no, they did it again.
They did the same thing and end up losing the game. But one more thing on Auburn before we quit. How impressive that Tennessee win would have been. Well, Auburn has now 11. We're not even to the end of January yet. Quad 1 wins. They've beaten Houston on a neutral floor. They've beaten Tennessee at home. They beat Iowa State on a neutral floor. They beat Purdue on a neutral floor. They've beaten Texas. They've beaten Georgia. They've beaten Mississippi State. They've beaten North Carolina. They've beaten Ohio State. These are all Quad 1 wins. Jimmy, they've got twice as many Quad 1 wins as all but 4 teams in the country right now. That's how good Auburn has been, and that's why it would have been such a gigantic win for
it would have been the biggest win.
It would have been the biggest win in college basketball this year. So,
well, I mean, the real question is, how many teams in the SEC with losing conference records are going to have bids?
I'm going to say 2, but it might be 3. Might be 3.
I'm going to say.
I'm going to
say 3.
You say 3?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. I'll say 3 on that one. So it's you're going to have a few, but man, this thing is it's unbelievable. And look, home and away, man. I mean, it is prevalent. How about Texas come back down 21?
Texas comes back.
A&M could have won at Oxford in Austin. I don't know if Texas is in right now, but man, that's still it's still a road win.
How about the one team that hasn't won a game, or not the one team that hasn't won a game in the
South Carolina?
South Carolina. You want to play them? It was all Mississippi State could do to get out of there.
Totally different game. Them in Florida. Florida, they had to lead the whole game. Florida gets their first lead at the end of the game, the final score, and then South Carolina's losing by 13, 15. They scramble to get it back in overtime, and then they can't score in overtime. So different ways they're doing it, but excruciating ways to lose. Now they got to go on the road, and they're going to get killed.
They're 0-6. They lost to Auburn by 3. At Vanderbilt, who's beaten Kentucky and Tennessee and Nashville, lost that one by 3. Lost the 1 point game you just referenced to Florida, and then this week they lose to Mississippi State in overtime. Another game. Now they had to come back in the second half, but that's the worst team in the conference. Whew.
Don't forget our friends at Relief Windows and ReliefWindows.com. Not only do we offer window replacement services unmatched anywhere in the Gulf South region, but we also offer the highest quality products in a range of material options so you can find the best fit for your home. You can view our selection of replacement windows and wood windows, vinyl windows, storm impact windows, made to help protect against hurricane-force winds and impact from storm debris. Whether you're in Louisiana, Texas, or Mississippi, or Florida, we can help you out. Relief Windows and ReliefWindows.com, because especially those RLS, wood windows. And if you have the in your homeowners association, you're required to have wood windows. I mean, again, 20-year general warranty and a lifetime limited warranty against rot, termites, and years of beauty against minimal maintenance. For that typical extreme South Louisiana conditions, the heat, the snow.
The snow, yeah.
The heat, the snow. Relief Windows, ReliefWindows.com.
Live at Mike Anderson's Live at Lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at Lunch with Ott and Annie from Mike Anderson Seafood on Lee Drive on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Back here at Mike Anderson's Live at Lunch. Remind you that we are also brought to you by Coastal Capital Advisors, your full-service financial planners. Because when it comes to retirement, there are no two solutions alike and no two situations alike. So Coastal Capital Advisors will work with you, also your business partners, your legal team, tax professionals, to make sure that all your goals are achieved. Coastal Capital Advisors will work for you, and I know for sure, because they certainly work for me. For more information, contact Philip Fontenot and his great staff at 337-981-1376 or online at coastalcapitaladv.com. Advisory services provided by New Age Advisors, LLC, doing business as Coastal Capital Advisors. Securities offered through New Age Securities, Inc., member FINRA, SIPC. The desperation, I'm going to use this word in college football, it just continues to ramp up among the haves. If anybody is going through any kind of drought, it seems like there's no amount to the money that they will spend to get themselves back in contention. We saw that at LSU this year. Okay, there's been last year, were they active in the transfer portal? They were not. Did they make the playoffs? They did not. Did they spend an obscene amount of money in the transfer portal this year? They did. Pretty clear directive. Make the playoff and advance in the playoff next year. We're paying for it. So what happened at Penn State was, I don't know if this was surprising or not, but Clemson signed Penn State's defensive coordinator, Tom Allen. Just took him right away. Signed it to a 3-year deal worth
Penn State took Ohio State. Huh?
Well, that's where I'm going with this. Okay, so if you're Penn State and Clemson, another big player in all of this, comes in and signs your coach to a 3-year deal, your defensive coordinator to a 3-year deal worth on average of $2 million a season, what do? You go steal Ohio State's defensive coordinator. Now, if you're Penn State, how much do you have to pay Ohio State's defensive coordinator to get him out of there? Jim Knowles is his name. If Clemson took yours for $2 million, we can't lose face here. We got to go get it from somebody good. Who's really good? Ohio State just won a national championship. Go get that guy. That guy's going to cost 50% more than the guy you just lost. I don't care. Go get him. Jim Knowles is the first $3 million a year coordinator in college football. Average of $3.1 million per year for 3. Yes, talk about strike while the iron's hot. Go from Ohio State.
Well, I mean, they even with Ohio State's personnel, usually they were not great on defense last year. And I mean, he had them way more organized this year. I usually I'm the one that sort of diminishes the role of a defensive coordinator. I thought he had a really good year this year for him.
So who does Ohio State go hire? They got to go hire Spagnuolo. I mean, you're the national champs, and they just got your defensive coordinator away from you for $3 million.
Why?
How do you have to climb the ladder from there?
Why would he not allow Ohio State to match it?
Who says he didn't? Maybe he did, and they were like,
you
for
think
$3 million.
Ohio State
maybe
would
they
let him
felt,
walk?
Maybe. If you're Ohio State and you didn't want him
Ryan
to walk.
Day's not the guy that you think's carrying the staff, huh?
Well, not certainly a month ago they didn't think that. I don't know exactly what Knowles was making. I'm sorry, he made $2.2 million last year. If you're Ohio State and you think this guy is that important to the operation, don't you pony up the extra $800,000?
It's his first year at Ohio State, right?
Maybe. Yeah, I think that's right.
Well, I mean,
I think that's right.
Because he inherited there were for Ohio State standards, they were not great defensively last year, and he comes in and he cleans some things up, and they were more reliant on that defense than they were the offense sometimes. Once they got rolling at the end, and the playoffs were a different deal, but he's I'm shocked that they wouldn't. Why'd you want to root? Man, you say, man, they offer me $3 million. You're not going to offer Ohio State. I gotta believe they would.
And maybe he gave him a chance, and maybe he didn't. Maybe he wanted out. I don't know. Here's what
1 year. I mean, you're gonna get better players there. You just won it. I don't know.
Well, here's what I do know: that if you're a program, the kind of cloud at Penn State, and you're tired of losing, okay, or you're tired of losing at the level at which they have lost, which is at the playoff or near playoff level. You say, we will spare no expense to go get. That's what Ohio State did, except it was with players. We lost to Michigan. How many years in a row it is before last year? It was 3 years in a row, 4 years in a row, whatever it is. Go spend $20+ million on players because we don't want to lose to Michigan again. Well, they spent the money. They lost to Michigan anyway, but they won the national championship, so it all worked out for them. Penn State, they were right there. We thought they were better than Notre Dame, but they lost the game.
So third year at Ohio State.
Third year at Ohio State. Okay, whatever
That's
it is.
a big difference.
Why? When it comes to the $800,000?
Well, he was part of the problem that he improved upon.
So do we think that he left for money, or do we think that he left because Ohio State didn't really care if he walked out the door? Did he? I mean, we're not behind the scenes on this thing, but do we think he walked just for the money, or do we think that?
No.
Okay. So something else is it? Because Ohio State, if Ohio State really wanted to keep him, that's not so much. It's not like they tripled his salary. They would have matched it, right?
And who's not going to get a bump up? Everybody on that staff's getting a bump up after you win the whole thing.
Yeah, you got all your bonus money, and then everybody gets a raise. Let it be written, let it be said. Let it be said, let it be written. However you say that stuff. I guess my point is when these programs, if they go any amount of time without winning, like if Oklahoma loses next
Penn
year,
State's never won. What are you talking about?
But
what do you mean they not winning? They finally got to the playoff and won a game.
They're winning at a level that is just below championship level over the last 7 or 8 years. They win about 9-10 games a year. And so what does it take
7
you to
or
get?
8. When's the last time they won it?
The last time Penn State won the whole thing?
Yeah, 86. They've been winning 7, 8, 9 games forever.
Under Franklin, they have averaged, 9, 10 wins a season. Okay, so they're saying, what gets us from there to here? Because they still think, hey, we're still one of the top 10 programs in the country. What do we have to do to win a championship? We'll spend whatever it takes. Well, we need a defensive coach. We'll go get that guy because Clemson just took yours. Next year, if Oklahoma doesn't win, watch them break out.
I don't think
every oil well in Oklahoma.
I know you're trying to make us, but I just don't see where Penn State did anything different than what they've done the previous years. What was different about them? They expanded the format, so they were included this year. They would have been included the majority of the years of the 4-team. They would have been in there more times than not.
You're
in a 12 team.
You're actually agreeing with me without thinking that you are. What do we do? What do we do? Which is the only way sometimes I
that
can
line when you're doing the show with me next few days.
Which is the only way I can get you to agree with me sometimes. Which is we got to go from here to here. The old Donardo. We got to go from 10 wins to 12 wins. How do we do it?
I knew you were thinking that with this whole thing too, and I think this is a little different. This is a team that is pretty close. I mean, Donardo and them were way farther away.
They were light years away.
This team, okay. Notre Dame was close this year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they were better than Notre Dame.
I did too.
I thought they were better.
And somewhere in State College, they had a meeting and said, "What do we need to put us over the hump?" And James Franklin said, "Well, if Allen's walking out the door, we got to get a coordinator. And I want the guy at Ohio State, but I'm sure we can't afford him." And somebody said, "Yes, we can. Here's $3 million. Go get you a coordinator."
I saw Underwood at the Penn State Michigan game last night.
Oh, he's way more expensive than $3 million a year. Way more expensive. Was it one of those college football predictions for next year that LSU played Michigan, or was it Notre Dame?
Notre Dame. It was the simulator. They go to South Bend and lose at South Bend. So I'm not so sure about that simulator. It has North Carolina as an at-large team.
They changed coaches.
Okay. All right.
What was the guy's name they hired? I forgot.
Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
So they're going to be an at-large?
They're going to be all over the preseason predictions. I don't know where they're going to be at the end of the year, but I know where they're going to be in the preseason.
Get down all you want, big boy. 7.5. It's the win total.
You ain't new. No thanks. Who's playing quarterback?
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
but 7.5.
ACC is weak.
No, their schedule's weak.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, check out their schedule. It's terrible.
I can get you to 8 wins. I don't know if I can get you to the playoff.
Guess what? It was bad this year. It was bad this year as well. So don't forget our friends over at Total Maintenance. Total Maintenance, my buddy Lucas Ragusa doing a great job. We've been working with Lucas for a long, long time. One of South Louisiana's oldest and largest air conditioner and heating companies. Founded in 1980, our team over 50 with 30 working together for a decade of more offer elite service for AC and your heating needs. We got offices and staffs in both New Orleans and Baton Rouge, but they're different. They're totally separate. Completely different offices, completely different staffs, completely different teams. That way they're not compromised. In Baton Rouge, the number is 480-1000, 480-1000. The one-time heater, the heating check, normally $79. Normally $179 is just $79 if you mention my name. That's right, one-time heater check. Mention Jimmy Ott, half off diagnostics, including after hours, holidays, and weekends as well. Total Maintenance, 480-1000, 480-1000. We are Total Maintenance.
Live at Mike Anderson's Live at Lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at Lunch with Ott and Yanni from Mike Anderson Seafood on Lee Drive on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Josiah Anderson, formerly of ESPN and longtime NFL reporter, with this tweet this morning. A league source tells me questions surrounding Mike McCarthy and the Saints head coaching vacancy have involved sentiments over the power structure and communications when it comes to football decisions, similar to the situation in Dallas. That was interesting. The last paragraph was way more interesting. Additionally, a lot of league perspectives have been given as to what owner Gail Benson should do when it comes to operations in her building in the future. I'll leave it at that for now. Since I'm leaving for 3 days, I'm not going to leave it at that for now. That is somebody in the league telling her, you cannot continue to let Mickey Loomis run this franchise into the ground. If the league's getting involved to tell you how bad your management is, that's really something.
She doesn't even have to ask the league on this, huh?
No.
They're knocking on her door.
Believe me, it just cannot be any worse. I mean, we documented, we're at the end of the show, but we talked about all of the things. And that press conference was one of the most damaging, embarrassing press conferences that I have seen. It was every bit as bad as Johnny Jones walking in and saying, Ben Simmons decided we couldn't go to the tournament.
Did you watch the Cowboys yesterday?
Well, like I said, at the end of the show.
And there's a lot of similarities
yes.
right there between them.
How he could walk in there with a straight face and say, not going to talk about players, not going to talk about coaches. We're doing everything fine. We're on the right track. Just because the results aren't with the coach or the team or the draft or the cap, we're doing everything right. Arrogant SOB. You know, I'm glad the league has noticed. Because somebody's got to tell her. That's why I said, listen, Mike McCarthy, my guy. No, but at least maybe he might listen to him.
I just ask him to expound upon the path now for Dennis Allen to catch up with Chuck Noll and Bill Belichick.
He's only 280 victories behind. Thanks to everybody for participating here at Mike Anderson's. The guys will be at Snow's Seafood and Steak tomorrow in Gonzales. From all of us here and Jordan back in the studio, I'm Charles Henniger saying thank you and good afternoon, and stay tuned for Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.